So hi everybody and welcome back to Unreal Engine 5 full game tutorial series for absolute beginners. This is video 94 and in this video we make the player die again, but this time when we accidentally touch the tentacles. Let me show you what I mean with that. So we have here the tentacles. I walk into the tentacles and then I won't die because I was too close. Alright, now it worked. And this is the thing what we are going to do in this video. Let's get started. First of all, we need to jump to our kraken or tentacle character. In my case, it's this one here. And then you open up this one. Then you switch to the event graph. And in event graph, we want to here. We can select here the skeletal mesh. Of course, you can make here a separate collider as well if you don't want to use here the skeletal mesh. I just take here the skeletal mesh. So you select the skeletal mesh and then you go here to the details panel and scroll down and we make there on component begin overlap. All right, of course, you can do this also here when you select the skeletal mesh, right click, add event, and here you have the same thing what you see here on the right side. All right, with that said, what we want to do is, if our skeletal mesh of these tentacles are overlapping our character, so and what we do then all time, it's the same thing. We go here from the other actor pin, search for cast to our player character. In my case, it's the horror engine character because I use this. This would be this one here. And then you connect this one, but you can see I have here again a do once node because I will not die all time. That's why I use here again a do once node. So when I overlap the tentacles, I want just that this die, what comes after this one, is triggered only one time. That's why we need here again, before we go here or anywhere here, I do once node so that this one is triggered only one time. All right, with that said, then we see here a function, and this function here, let me double click on this one. You can see it is just a custom function which I added in our character. And actually this looks not familiar to you probably because in my last video you can see the whole code here I replaced here with a function, this one here. That was that when I said to you, oh, we can make the whole code here to just one a little function here. So this one is just a reminder. I will kick it out later when the function is working properly. And now before this function here, I have here a custom event which I call, and the only reason why I have here a custom event is I want to activate this function here. But the point is this custom event was only necessarily because I had here no function in my first try, which means now I have a function, and I said a function we can call from other blueprints. You can see how benefits we can get with functions. So with other words, I don't need here even a custom event. So what I can do is, instead of using a custom event, which I call here in my character, I can call from the character directly the function which I want to activate. That was my last video. And you can see that's why functions are sometimes very powerful when you are reusing code. In my case, I reuse now this whole code here again, and you have a function, you can recall them, and that's very easy. So let's do this. Instead of using a custom event, I call now the function. In my case, I renamed this function from my last video to widget die animation and camera shake. You see the function name is very long, and the reason for that is when you read this function name, the longer the better, because you pack in more information. And you can see I say here widget die animation and camera shake. This is exactly that what more or less I do program here in this function. So in this function here is this code, and you can see here is my create widget, play the animation, and here is also camera shake. And all this information I packed here in the function name. That's why the function name is also very important if you want to shorten your development process, that give much information as you can, so you don't have to, let's say, examine all time the code what's in there. And with that said, we can go back to our Kraken again. And like I said, instead of using here now this custom event, which was needed before because there I had no dysfunction, let's just call here our, what was the name? Of course, I should read the name first. Widget die animation. Let's call it directly here. Widget die animation. And you can see here is this widget die animation, which we just can call. And this custom event will be replaced, but I still keep it till I tested it because I want to test this first to be sure. But I think that will work. Normally you should keep all time anything when you change till you finish your tests, so that not any strange surprises can happen and so on. All right. With other words, I'm not using this one here. I have done already what I needed. And I think we are not finished. So the next thing is we go back to our Kraken. We select again the skeletal mesh. The code section is finished, but we go here now back to the viewport because these tentacles here need to be selected. So this is the skeletal mesh. And we need collision because I want that these tentacles should overlap with my character, and we have to set this in the collision section. So you go here, you can write here collision, for example, and that's why I said you can also use here perhaps a box collider if you want. Just make here one box collider around this one. Is also working, but I use here the skeletal mesh. It's also working, I think. If it's not working, just change this one to our collider here, collision box, like all time. But I think this is working. So with that said, you go here to the collision. First of all, here it says here generate overlap events. Yes, click please that because we are overlapping our character. And then collision preset, I changed this one here to overlap only pawn, and the pawn is my character actually. So my player character and pawn, they are the same because the pawn is I mean the character is inherit from pawn, I think, or the other way around. I don't know exactly, but one is inheriting from other. Anyway, you can write here overlap only pawn, then you have this one, and then you can save this. And now if you are overlapping with this one, and like so, this should be triggered here. And if this is triggered, then we should, of course, write here a comment. I don't know, I wrote here something. I don't know if this is right, but let's keep this one here. And with that, compile, save, and test it. Let's see, I made here some changes if this is still working.
Let's see if I find this card.
And then I hear the tentacles come out. So if you accidentally walk into it, yes, it's working, you die. And you can see the whole die animation, the buttons, that was my test button here. And all things are popping up like our last time. And then you can let's continue, go back to your main menu. So that was it for this one. It was a fast setup. I hope it helps you. It's needed. And I think in the next video, so this one is out, we can go on. We have still to do a little bit with the throw animation, which I said here at the beginning is a little bit difficult to make. And yeah, probably we will also shorten the whole code here. You can see I start to refactor the code. I make them shorter, 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 like this function here. Instead of using here the whole code, oops. I start to make the code all time shorter, shorter. And that's a good practice. But still keep in mind performance. If you want performance, sometimes you don't make this, but I think it's okay for development purposes, because later when you go in, you want to check this code, double click it, and you can see the function is here. Of course, you have to set it up properly, and that's it. All right, with that said, if you have any questions like old time, write in the comment section. See you in the next video, and like old time, have fun and never give up. Bye.